This video right here is not the video I intended to make. It's just something that popped up a few days ago, and now I feel like I have to talk about it. Because I have talked about before on this channel how people keep making live-action versions of animated movies or even TV shows. And it's happening again with Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't know why we're trying this again. I don't know why they're doing this again, and I'm going to sound very harsh in this video. I'm very aware that it's hard to make movies. I'm very aware that it's a difficult job at times. It's difficult to be creative, difficult to pull certain things off. But this is one of those things where I don't know why they bothered. See, recently, it's probably like last week by now, they released a clip of Zuko saving Iroh. If you've watched the original animated show, there's a part where Iroh gets kidnapped by earthbenders and then Zuko goes to save him. They showed that clip in the live action form. And it's very, I guess, mediocre. It's mostly like the way they're approaching a fight, because if you watch the way that the original one is presenting this fight scene, as old as the animation is, they are doing some really cool things. Like, for example, Iroh doesn't use any firebending. He doesn't. In the original fight, he doesn't do any firebending. He just uses the rocks against the earthbenders, which shows Iroh's character as someone who actually studies each element of bending so that he can have an advantage over them. And he teaches this to Zuko eventually. But in this one scene, he just burns him to a crisp and then uses like fire chains to slice the rocks. Zuko's fighting is, I don't know why they put so much slow motion. Typically with slow motion, you want to highlight something or show the impact of something. But if you overdo it, it's not going to feel that special anymore. But this fight in general doesn't have much of a flow, which makes me think this show is not going to be good at all, or just end up being very mediocre. To which I will say, once again, why are we making live-action versions of these? Because mostly people are going to say, oh, it's because it's not animated, it's not stylized, it's because it's not animated, that's what the problem is. That's not exactly what the problem is. The problem is that you are mimicking someone else's creation. That's the main problem. That's why remakes don't work that well. And this right here is mimicking a certain fight scene from a show, and they didn't do it right. And the reason they didn't do it right is because they do not have the same mindset of the characters that the original creators had. And I'm also going to point out, the original creators stepped away from this show due to creative differences. So that right there makes me not want to watch this show at all. And I'm not going to. Nothing is convincing me to watch this show. The trailer never convinced me. The stuff I heard about what they did to Sokka's character is not convincing me. And now that I'm seeing how the Zuko and Iroh fight looks, it doesn't look that impressive at all. What I see in this fight is just every slow motion scene they want to highlight the bending, but they shouldn't treat the bending as this big crazy moment every single time, because this should be a normal thing we see in the show. And I already know that people are hating on this show, are already like starting to not want to watch it, but people are going to watch it anyway, and that's the problem. We're still not standing up against the crap that we're being presented by big companies, because they're not making anything new. They want to remake everything that worked. And the original creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender have stepped away from this project and are working on an animated movie. Let's watch that instead. Let's wait for that instead of watching this live-action, mediocre crap. And I know I'm just crapping on like people's hard work. Like I've been thinking about this recently. I know that there's times where we're all being really tough on movies and shows, and we forget that there's people that are making this as art. This is someone's art that we're also like critiquing. Like Madam Web came out, and this one YouTuber, I forgot his name. I'll put his name up. I've admittedly don't watch his stuff, but I know he's highly respected. He talked about how he didn't want to crap on a movie because he became a filmmaker and understands how hard it is to make these movies. And that when you're under executives, it's even more difficult to try to get your creative idea out onto that movie. And I can feel that. I can feel that frustration with people that make these kinds of shows and movies that just don't end up doing well because of they just couldn't work together with the executives. Typically, if you're a big name, you can have more control over your movie. But when you're someone who's a nobody, they're not going to treat you that way. And there's also this case of just like these companies trying to make profit off of an entire franchise. They're thinking more about releasing a bunch of content rather than creating art. And there's so many people that are working on this show that, sadly, they don't get to express the art the way that they probably want to. Or they're just treating this as a 9 to 5 job, and yeah, they're just doing what they were asked, and that's all they can do. But what I find so irritating is when they make these remakes, when they take these movies and shows that were animated, that were presented in an artistic style, and now, once again, but it doesn't have the same feeling in it as the original did. I still to this day find it very disrespectful for studios to do this, to take something that someone else made, completely change it, and just re-release it to make easy money. Like, this show could have just been something original. It could have just been a show about, another Avatar, and that would have been cool. If they had done something original with it, I would have been fine with it. I would have actually been interested in the show and wanted to watch it. If it had a different feel, had a darker feel in the live action format, that would have been interesting. And the creators of Avatar have gone through this before. They went through it with Nickelodeon as well. When they made Korra, they didn't want to make season 2, 3, and 4. They just had season 1 and they were done. But then they kept being told, make another one, make another one. People are watching it. Make another one, make another one. They're just being forced to present content. It's frustrating. I understand the mindset that let's watch it first and see how it is. From what I've seen, I don't want to watch it. And one of the main reasons why it's not convinced me is because I have seen this show before. It came out years ago. It's frustrating. It's genuinely frustrating to see stuff that I would call art, to see stuff that I would call great storytelling, great character development, only for it to be used as just a product. And I get that companies try to make money. I understand that they have a family that they're trying to make money to provide for. I understand that. I understand all of that. And I'm making this video just off the top of my head. I was not prepared to make this video, but it's just been on my mind for the past few days because I don't like seeing things that I talk about come true. I don't like seeing things that I even put into a video coming true once again. And I also hate it when I'm proven right in these certain situations that they're going to continue to do this unless we stop watching. And if we do stop watching, they're not going to do this anymore. So why would we want to support taking someone else's art and perverting it? And I'm glad the original creators stepped down. I'm glad they took that stand to then back away. I know that they probably lost money because of that, but they weren't going to have it. Whatever you make is just going to get remade now. That's the sad part. Whatever you make is just going to be treated as just something to make money from, not something that should be cherished. Because there is genuinely something special about Avatar: The Last Airbender. It raised an entire generation of people. It is something special. It's not just something to make money from. Making money is part of why filmmakers do what they do, but they do what they do because they love the craft. If someone was to become a painter and they sell their paint, they do want to make money, but at the same time, it's what they love to do. This is how they express themselves. When people buy that art, they're grateful to those people because that person that bought their art appreciates what they created. When people go to see movies in theaters, there's this appreciation for what they made. It doesn't feel the same as the original because there is no passion like how the original was. I think the best example I can give for just passion for filmmaking is The Lord of the Rings. I have the extended edition, which also comes with behind-the-scenes footage of each movie. And when you watch the behind the scenes, you see how passionate everybody is, and it makes you love the films even more than you did before. Whenever I do watch behind the scenes footage of movies I like and I see the passion behind it, I'm like, man, I want to do that now. It looks fun. It looks like they had a great time. And that's why we love it. That passion, passes on through whatever you made down to somebody else. And that's what makes them enjoy it so much. And that passion is not there with this live action remake. Most remakes, that passion is not there. The problem with The Fight is not that it's copying the original, or not that because it's not animated, it's not good. It's not good because there isn't any passion in it. It's an obligation now, not a passion.